Good evening, viewers. You are live at Courtside with Lawman,
and Carmen B.
and we are here to talk about issues that affect the criminal justice system and that affect the community and the public.
Yes.
And we would just like to remind you that we are an informational and an educational show. If you call in with a question or if you put a question in the chat and we answer that question for you, it does not create an attorney client relationship between the caller and myself, Carmen Butler, or the caller and lawman, Mr. Staten.
Yes.
But we are here to answer your questions. So please put the questions in the chat or you can call in.
The number
And
is
that number is 916-384, and correct me if I'm wrong on that. I never call this number, so that's why I never
look at it every
about,
time.
Yeah, I never think about what the number is. Let me get it out. Courtside.
I know I should have it memorized.
That's okay. 916-384-8204. Again, 916-384-8204.
All right. Well, after a few hot days here in Sacramento, we finally got one that was a little bit cooler, I guess. But tonight, I think our theme is going to be law enforcement and lying, or law enforcement and a tendency not to tell the truth.
A dishonesty.
Yes.
Omission.
Faking reports.
Lies by omission.
And many times when these things occur, no one pays a price for it. You know, there may be cases that are overturned and stuff as a remedy, but many times the law officers do not get prosecuted or even fired sometimes when dishonesty occurs. But we know that in Sacramento recently, there was a nice little scandal where an officer was, exposed, faking a police report or faking a reason to stop an individual in a police report. Now, you know, we all have, we're familiar with traffic stops. We're familiar with stops from officers constantly. It's the way that officers sort of engage with the public in a lot of ways, is pulling us over, telling us to stop walking, doing whatever it is. And the Constitution says that to do so, you must have a reasonable suspicion that the person's been involved in crime.
A reasonable, articulable suspicion.
Right.
Meaning you must be able to state specifically, using language, why you believe that person may have been committing a crime, even whether that crime is a traffic violation, right, or some other crime.
Exactly. And that's a Fourth Amendment protection we have, which says that we are protected from unreasonable searches and seizures. So as long as their contact is reasonable, then you would think that the Constitution would support them. Now, when a person lies about a reason of contacting you, then obviously it's unreasonable. And so it begs the question, and someone asked me the other day, they said that, hey, you know, cops are just doing their job. They're out here protecting people, and they're trying to really, you know, make society safe and all of that. And I started thinking about what they said, and because I preach a lot about when officers contact you, what to say, how to act to save your life, I started thinking, you know what? What we see a lot of times is that officers are pulling someone over, stopping someone, and they're not really worried about the crime that they committed or are being accused of committed, but are you on probation? Are you on parole? Can I search your car?
Even if you're not on probation or
parole,
they will ask whether or not they can search your car. Lawman, what should the answer be when law enforcement asks if they can search your car?
No. No, you can't search my car.
And if the officer says, well, why don't you want me to search? Do you have anything illegal in there?
I don't want you to search my car.
and you just repeat that. You
over and over.
Yes, until they
Until
leave you alone.
Right.
Or
they ask you to get out of the car. Now, the thing is this, look, most of us go, well, that was wrong. Why did he order me out of the car? Why is he treating me this way? Because what is happening, and what I was telling this person is, look, the problem with officers when they come up to people and engage them is this. Immediately they suspect you to be doing something. They don't know what, so they call it what? An investigation into what you perhaps and might be doing.
Or they will say that it's a consensual contact, but it is never a consensual contact if you are driving your vehicle and the officer pulls you over. You are being detained.
Right.
They've put the red and blue lights on you, and you are required under law to pull your vehicle over, and that is a detention. They need to be able to justify that detention. And what happened in the specific Sacramento case that lawman was mentioning is that the officer had indicated that the reason for the stop, well, two reasons. First reason was that the person who was stopped did not use their turn signal before pulling into, I believe it was a Shell gas station.
Yeah, like a mini mart. Yeah.
A Shell gas station parking lot.
Right.
And then the alleged second reason was that he had parked in a way that was crossing over one of the lines that he wasn't properly parked.
Right.
Except the problem with that is he was on private property. The Shell is not public property. It is privately owned, and they can't enforce any parking regulations at the Shell station.
And that would go for anything, really.
Now, you may ask, how did this come to light? And it appears that the officer was concerned, and she knew that that was not good probable cause for stopping him, and that the whole incident regarding not using the turn signal was actually apparently just fabricated. And that was discovered because there was surveillance footage of surrounding businesses that captured his vehicle as it was approaching the Shell station, and actually the substantial period before he approached the Shell station, and his front light was blinking, indicating that he was going to make that turn.
Correct.
The investigating Internal Affairs investigation went even further, and they went and actually checked the vehicle to make sure, well, the officer was behind him. So maybe his front light was blinking, but maybe his back light wasn't actually working. And that's why she didn't know that he was signaling. But nope, they checked his vehicle out, and the back turn indicator was working as well. Additionally, they found, they actually did a search warrant for this officer's home, for her laptop, for her cell phone. And what they discovered was that she had written numerous versions of this police report, some of which mentioned the turn signal issue, some of which did not.
Now, before we go on, let me finish with this thought, because what they really were doing is what I will call hunting, searching, hoping that something would come about when they pulled over this individual. Now, there's no secret, the individual is black, okay? And he's driving alone in the vehicle, and I think it was like, 1 in the morning or something? It was really late at night, and the officers were just cruising around, okay? Now, can officers cruise around? Absolutely. Cruise around all you want. But when you are cruising around and you're selecting individuals to pull over, there's something wrong. And we know that that is the genesis usually of a stop when it is after midnight, late at night, even if you're going to turn into an AM, PM or anything.
I think officers just tend to assume that if a person, an African-American person is out, and sometimes it's related to the hour, but I think they just tend to assume that something must be afoot. Right. And they believe, especially more likely at late night hours, that the person must be up to something, even though they have no reasonable articulable suspicion.
Yes.
Now, what this incident shows is what we have known all along, but it's usually difficult to prove that there are some officers who fabricate the reason for the traffic stop.
Right.
Now, how do you prove that? Usually, if there are no video cameras, it boils down to your word versus that officer's word. And it is unfortunate, but judges tend to lend a lot of credibility to officers because of the position that they hold and the fact that they would like to believe that officers would not be dishonest.
And why would they lie? Why would they risk their careers to lie to pull you over?
But what we know is they're not risking their careers.
Exactly.
Nothing usually tends to happen. And even if they are found to have committed misconduct, the punishment is usually very, very light, if there is any punishment.
Right.
And I don't really consider paid time off to be punishment.
True. No.
Doesn't everyone wish that you could go to your job and they say,
Make
know
mistakes.
what? Go home for 2 weeks. But we're going to pay you for that 2 weeks while you're at home.
Because you screwed up.
Yeah, because that's just a paid vacation.
Right. So, and when I say hunting now, I want you to really think about this. Look, I'm not being very harsh because all I'm saying is this. If you don't see a crime, if you don't witness it with your own eyes, why do you suspect something is going on?
Well, it's not you're talking about.
No, I'm talking about cops. No, that's
not. Call them by their name.
Hey,
so that
is the you, because I'm not running around looking to see if people are committing crimes, right? We don't do that on a general basis with even other motorists, right? Oh, hey, he's speeding. You know what? Somebody needs to pull him over. Yeah, we can say that out of anger, but we know it's not going to happen. But we're talking about individuals who have that power to just say, I'm going to get that guy.
And here is the difference, though, in that if someone is actually speeding, right now as the law stands, the officer can pull that person over if they are committing a traffic violation. Right. But what we're talking about here is instances where they are making up the reason for the traffic stop because they know it's their word versus the individual in the car. And they know that they are much more likely to be believed than the individual in the car. And that brings us to something that we had said in one of our earlier shows. And that is, if you can afford it, get yourself one of those GoPro cameras that you can have in your car, because you're not always going to be able to use your phone to record. The officers may knock it out of your hand or push it down. Whereas if you have that camera in your dash, they may not even notice that it's there and that it's recording. And it's much more likely to record more of the video and the audio footage of what is transpiring.
Absolutely. Now, I got to get back to this because it bothers me so to know that it's 2 a.m. and there's a black guy driving a car and somebody is wondering what crime is he committing? Why is he suspicious for doing that? Now, even if your tags are unregistered, let's say, your vehicle's unregistered, right? Even then, yeah, you can pull them over, but why is there the first question is usually, are you on probation, parole? What are you doing out here late at night? You got any guns or weapons in the car? Because they'll ask that question first. And in a way, if you really think about how disrespectful that is to a human being, when you don't see guns, you don't see weapons. I'm not in tactical gear.
Well, Mr. Staten, are you suggesting that the officer not be allowed to ask people if they are on probation or parole? Here's one thing.
Yes.
They don't actually need to ask that question.
That's right.
Because if they have the person's identification,
they'll
they can
find
run
out.
A record check, which is statewide.
That's right.
They can even run one that's nationwide.
That's right.
And determine that person's status.
And I'll tell you this. If that person has been arrested of anything and acquitted, or dismissed, or something that has happened 10 years in the past, what they do now is they run your criminal record. And they know whether or not, he was fighting officers. He's got a resisting arrest. He's got drug charges in his past. He's got gun charges in his past. So right away, They're looking at that record, whether you were convicted or not, to start presuming and assuming you must be up to something today. And I'm still stuck on the disrespect that someone would show me by assuming that I've committed a crime, or even suspecting that I'm committing a crime or any unlawful act when you did not see one yourself. Reasonable suspicion. The key word is reasonable, because everybody suspects somebody. How many times you might suspect your mate of cheating? How many times you suspect your child of lying? But is it reasonable? Is it something that is backed by fact? When you walk up and you say, are you on probation, parole? What do you got in the car? Are you got any guns in here? And that's the only thing that you can say to me. It's disrespectful. In fact, it is one of the one things that I would say, if you want to change policing, that's what you change. You get rid of that ability of officers to ask that particular question.
They don't need to ask that question because, again, they can ask for your identification.
That's right.
They can run your identification and make that determination.
And they will. They will. So why come up and ask me? And you know why? Because they want to engage in this conversation, this consensual conversation. And you know what else? They want to piss me off. They want me to be pissed off because you are messing with me. And the first thing some of us say is, why are you messing with me? And then I think they smile. I think they go, all right, we got one here.
I'm going to get a reaction.
I'm going to get a reaction if I just say, aren't you on probation, parole? Don't you got some guns in the car? I'm going to get a reaction. And once I get a reaction, oh, why you being so suspicious? Why are you all defensive? If you don't have guns in the car, then why can't I search? You see, these questions of, well, hold on. How about this? Ask me if I want some damn ice cream. Ask me that. Would you like some ice cream, Keith? And I'll say, shit, yeah. Get your ass over to Baskin Robbins and give me some ice cream. Fudge and peanut butter would be great, officer. You have served your community wonderfully.
Now, Mr. Staten, you're being quite facetious here.
Yeah, but you know what? Everybody understands, Carm, what I'm talking about now.
We do have
complete disrespect.
A comment in the chat from Sheepdog Protector. Do they also do this to meet quotas?
Sure.
Well, supposedly they will say that they do not have quotas.
Right.
But we are aware that even if it is an informal quota, that they do have quotas. That if they are not making stops, they're being asked, well, what is it that you're actually doing? We know that people are out there committing violations, and if you're not having contact with them, you're not doing your job. The problem with those kind of quotas, though, is then it encourages officers to make up reasons for traffic stops, and that is what we do not want. And in talking about new forms of possible policing, one idea that has been introduced because of the high volume of traffic stops with African American people in comparison to our numbers in the general population and the numbers at which other people do not get contacted, is that perhaps law enforcement should not be engaged in stopping people for traffic violations. They should deal with the more serious crimes that are occurring.
To crime calls. Now, I got to throw this in here, Carm, because apparently I'm going to be the mean guy today, okay? I'm going to talk about quotas. Okay, what's a quota? Hey, officer, can you pull over somebody and get 10 tickets this week? Now, let's just think of this. With the number of officers on the street, are you going to fire an officer because he's not getting 10 tickets? Are you going to reduce your force because they don't fill their quota? Because if that's the case, we're working on the wrong end of things over here, because that means that quotas is just a lie and it's a fiction, and they don't need quotas. They're still going to come to work and do the same damn thing with or without a quota. So it's it's disingenuous of them to say even, I got to make my quota. Because you don't have to make jack. You show up, we will pay you. And guess who's paying them? Let me reach from my pocket and tell you who's paying them.
The same taxpayers that they are stopping, the same taxpayers they are mistreating.
And that's ridiculous, that quotas. Ooh. Or, I need to, stop crime in the streets and stuff. A lot of times the crime is right there in your own station house. The crime is right there when you look in the mirror. That may be the crime. I'm a little hot tonight, Colin.
Okay, we have a question in the chat, lawman, from Sean. Sean is asking, is it illegal to not comply with an officer?
No. Here's what you do, okay? If an officer stops you, I don't care, walking up.
It depends on, when you say comply, it depends on the
level.
The specific situation.
Right, because the very first situation, whether they're coming at you with a gun drawn, pulling you over, walking up, asking the question, it doesn't matter what they say. Your words are, am I free to leave? Can I go? It may be obvious because he turned red lights on you that you got to stop because you got to stop. But that doesn't mean you have to now give them the world. Because when you ask, am I free to leave? It kicks in your Fourth Amendment to be free from an unreasonable stop and search. It now forces the officer to articulate, as Carm said, why they are contacting you. Now, do they have to say it? No, but you are laying the groundwork for the next move. And the next move is, if he's saying, no, I'm going to write you a ticket. You ran a red light. I don't like your looks.
You don't dispute with the officer.
No.
Because when you dispute with the officer, what he's going to do is attempt to write his report as tightly as he possibly can. And unfortunately, because a lot of times there isn't footage, there isn't video footage of the incident, it's going to boil down to your word versus that officer's word.
And this is why the next thing you do is so magical. I want to talk to a lawyer before I speak to you. Here's my license. Here's my registration. Here's my insurance. But I prefer to remain silent. So when you say comply to that, when you say that, those are magical words. And like I always quote, Florida v. Royer, 1983. Florida v. Royer, R-O-Y-E-R. Google it.
Now, I am going to define what Mr. Staten means by magical, because we know for a fact that saying those words does not mean that the officer will behave in the fashion in which he should. And that is, if he doesn't have a reasonable articulable suspicion for stopping you, to immediately let you go. That is, if you tell him that you want to speak to your attorney or an attorney, he should cease all questioning.
Right.
We know that does not happen. It should happen, but it does not always happen.
You shut up.
You have to, when you make that statement, that has to be the end of the conversation.
Right.
You can repeat those words, I would like an attorney.
And over.
But there should be no discussion. Well,
That's
officer,
right.
I was just going here.
That's right.
Well,
I don't have to tell, you don't have to tell them what you were doing, how you were doing it, and why you're doing anything.
You don't
Florida
need to make a statement.
Royer.
You're not required to make a statement.
I quote that case, Carm, because it clearly says, and the case is a U.S. Supreme Court case out of 1983, Florida v. Royer, R-O-Y-E-R. In that case, the Supreme Court justices of the United States says a citizen is never obligated to talk to an officer. Now, hold on. I must finish this thought.
All right.
Never obligated to talk to an officer. Now, you say comply, right? Well, comply. If he says get out the car, you can get out, but you don't have to say nothing. See? So you comply, but you don't say nothing, because in Florida v. Royer, it goes on to say, and the fact that you don't want to talk to an officer is no reason for them to detain you. Whoa. So really the lesson is this. Look, you got to use the protocol. You got to use the law against what? The law. And the law is you never have to talk to police officers. If they order you to do something, you can comply physically, but you do not have to talk. In fact, I'll tell you this. The beautiful part of doing that is that you are setting situation up so that you can win later, okay? Nobody's going to bring out some lawyers and the jury and the courtroom just fly out of the air, and all of a sudden we're going to try your damn case right here at the corner of Florin and Fruit Ridge, okay? That's not going to happen. But what will happen when you shut up and when you say, I want to speak to my lawyer, is that they cannot interrogate you further, and you don't say anything that screws you up. If they want to go and search, if they want to do that, watch them. Just watch them do it. Because that's when your lawyers take over later if they arrest you for something. So you don't have to give them that. You exercise the law. And when I say exercise the law, I challenge the world to say, I'm wrong. I'm not wrong.
Now, the officers may not properly follow the law.
Right.
So, for example, you may say to them, no, you cannot search my car. And they may say to you, ma'am, get out of your car. We're going to search your car. And they may go ahead and search your car anyway.
Yep.
But if charges are filed, your attorneys will deal with proving that that search was illegal.
It would be so, you know, how many police reports you've seen in your life?
Here, go ahead.
How many police reports you've seen in your life, Carmen? How many in your life?
Oh, thousands.
Thousands, hundreds of thousands, probably. But the point is, look, here's the thing. We both have seen police reports all the time. I can tell you what's in the police report by smelling the paper. I seriously can. I can tell you what it was. And in everyone, if you just shut the hell up, if you don't tell them where things are and try to talk your way out of something, we as lawyers can smell that right away. I mean, boy, we see that right away that they did something illegal.
Now, again, this is why we are, if you can afford it, get one of those cameras to have in your car, because the officer, as we're seeing with the example of the SPD officer, may lie and say you consented to the search. And if there's no video, now it boils down to, if there's no video, meaning there's no body cam, you weren't able to record it, it wasn't captured on the ICC camera of the vehicle.
Mini mart where the cameras are.
Yeah, it's your word versus the officer's word as to what was said. So we know it is unfortunate, but what we need to know is that officers are human. Humans can lie.
That's right.
Some officers will lie.
More than others. Now, and should we focus back on the Sacramento case a little bit? Because now I think everybody understands what to do in the case of a traffic stop or any time an officer says, stop, hold up. Hey, come here.
And that is, am I free to leave?
And if they say yes, guess what you get to do? Leave. If they say no, you want to talk to your lawyer.
You don't. And now the fact that a lot of times people, again, are thinking, well, I don't have an attorney hired. I don't have an attorney on retainer. You don't need to have a specific attorney. You just let him know I want an attorney. I want an attorney. Because
the Supreme Court of the United States says, I do not have to talk to you. And you know what that case also says? You don't have to help officers jam you up. You don't have to help them. Now that sounds like, oh, why not be compliant, Keith? Why not be a good boy and just say what they say?
No one's saying not to be compliant.
That's right. I'm saying be ultra compliant.
Exercise your legal rights. That's what we're instructing you to do.
That's right. And how do you get them? How did we get those rights? Do you know how we got them? The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments of the Constitution. They gave it to us. They made us citizens freed us from slavery, and then said we can vote. Bam. So don't be a fool and get caught up in the hoopla of, I want to argue. I think I'm right. How come he did that, Carm? How come this officer pulled me over?
And again, the main thing that we want people to be able to do is to make it through these traffic stops alive. So sometimes that may involve some level of, as Mr. Staten said, physical compliance.
Right.
That does not mean that you have to give up your right.
That's right.
Now, before we get back to the Sacramento incident, I don't know if you saw, there was a routine traffic stop that happened in Virginia where a woman, Wanisha Brooks, I believe an African-American woman, was pulled over by a Virginia state trooper in an incident there where the prosecution has determined that the officer had no legal basis for pulling her over.
There were some words used by the prosecution.
If you've seen the video of that incident, but if you do a Google search on Wanisha, Juanisha, last name Brooks, it should pull up that incident, and the dash cam video shows that they pull her over. I'm not even sure now what the reason was for pulling her over, but they pull her over. And then when she asked the officers why they pulled her over, he said, "You can get out of the car and I'm going to show you why I pulled you over." Again,
why are you talking to him? See?
Force. No.
Well,
but what I'm talking about is the officer's demeanor and attitude towards a woman who's driving a car alone at night. Overly aggressive, and for what? It's not like he suspected her of a robbery, a bank robbery, a murder. He didn't suspect any violent crime had been committed by her. This is, again, I believe they had no legitimate reason for stopping her.
But notice, she said, "Why are you pulling me over?" Wrong phrase. Am I free to go? Now, he may have said in that situation, "Oh, you ain't free to go. Let me show you why and pull you out."
I'm sure he probably would have said something considering what he did, because eventually they do pull her out of the car. I'm sure he would have said something aggressive like, "Dumb bitch, you saw my lights. Of course I'm pulling you over and you're not free to leave."
That's right.
But you still ask that question, and you don't let the officer's demeanor take you out of your character, your level of calmness and zen during these traffic stops.
That's right. You want to see more than, you're watching things. Your job is watch things, look at things, stay alert, look what's going on, because that's your moment in time. The calmer you stay, the better it will be. And with the dash cams and the officers being caught by their own ICC videos, in-car cameras, their own body cams, we see what they do when their own cameras are on, and they don't give a shit. They still do it.
I think a lot of times the officer, one, is either not even thinking about his camera or thinking that this is the camera's never going to come to light.
Or this is the way we treat these people. Unfortunately. Black officers too. Okay? But policing has come to the point to where why must they be so aggressive to every motorist?
Oh, they're not aggressive to every motorist.
Oh, really?
They're not aggressive to every motorist.
Well, which motorists get away with things?
It appears that the motorists who are African American get the brunt of these traffic stops.
Is that because we on probation, parole, maybe 3/5 of us, something like that? Is that why we get the brunt? Why would we get the brunt? I mean, we built this country, didn't we? And then we fighting every damn war. Why must we get the brunt, Carm? I know we can't answer, but we know. People don't want us at the table somehow. So, they brutalize you to make you less human, to make you feel like you're nothing, nobody. And you react because nobody likes feeling like that. From nobody.
But in those instances, we want you
live
to try. Yes. The number one goal is to live through that traffic stop.
You can tell a lawyer
so you
exactly
can tell the story,
what happened.
and then we can fight on your behalf.
That's right.
Now, Here though, is a problem, lawman. What about all of the individuals who are illegally stopped in this fashion, but they're not arrested because no charges are ever filed? The officer searches and doesn't find anything.
And they arrest them and they go to jail and maybe even bail out, come to court. It turns out the DAs are like, I got filing that, because what happened with the DA when they saw that video of the lady in Virginia? What did the DA say?
The district attorney said that there was no legal basis for that particular stop.
Oh, they used stronger words than that, didn't they, Carm?
I don't have the complete article pulled up, but
I think they said this is disgusting.
Oh, well, yes.
Okay.
They did say
this is disgusting.
Because they also saw how the officers manhandled her and the fear that she felt at that instant.
More than
because
one
it's
officer.
also there are two officers there.
Right.
It's at nighttime and she's a woman by herself.
Right. And then you don't forget that. It's just like when they whipped you when you were a slave. You don't forget that. It's just like when they tear your wife's stomach open and pull the baby out to show you better not run away. You don't forget that. Isn't that funny? It's not funny, but it happens. Because what else could be an explanation for even coming with that attitude? I'm fighting crime? What?
Except that the rate at which we're stopped, my understanding is that the rate at which we are stopped for our small number in the general population, it is unexplainable.
Right.
Unless it is based on stopping people based on their race.
That's right. Be no reason. What do we run red lights more than everybody? What do we speed more than anyone? That's not what I see, and I'm a speeder. Okay,
stop admitting things.
Hey, I'll speed. I'll tell you, I'll speed all day. I mean, but I'm looking at Johnny White Boy, everybody White Boy here. Hey, they speeding too. I'm trying to catch up with them.
You're not speeding. You're going the
flow of the traffic.
The traffic.
That's right. But the point being made. Look, we're not the ones out here just doing traffic, violations all the time, and the traffic violations. Maybe traffic violations because my tail lights out. Oh, really? Okay. What was I doing? I didn't signal to make that turn. Okay. So I get an ass whooping for that because I get the fear brutality because of that. So the next time I'm driving, that's in my head. I can remember that. I remember. Oh my God. You know what I remember, Carl? I remember when I came up here to go to law school over 30 years ago. And before I even started law school, in the very beginning, my professor in San Francisco let me use his Honda Prelude, a red one, 2-door.
Nice little sporty
car. I had no idea what Oak Park was or where I was, but I was near my law school and it was my birthday. And I'm driving it. They pull me over, and the first thing was people around here steal these kinds of cars. That was the first thing. They had already read the thing, and when read and seen the license plate, knew it wasn't mine. It was my professor's out of San Francisco. People around here steal these cars, so they immediately felt that I had stolen that car. And I'm up here going to law school. That was my welcome to Oak Park, and I'll never forget that.
I wouldn't say welcome to Oak Park because that wasn't the residents of Oak Park treating you in that fashion.
No, law enforcement.
That was law enforcement.
That's right.
So welcome to Sacramento style policing.
That's right.
What that was.
I'm in the wrong place, I guess. All right. But keep going, Carl, because I'm an antagonistic tonight. I'm just feeling it tonight for some reason. I don't know.
That's okay, lawman. That's okay.
Sometimes that's how we get. Hey.
The public needs to hear it.
And that's how sometimes, look, it's how I get my frustration out sometimes. I you know what? I got to go somewhere sometimes and just feel, because I get angry and I get upset. And I pray that my brothers and sisters all can find some zen, do the right thing when that happens to you, so that we can see you again. All right.
All right.
Focus back on
So what we have to do is, when these stops occur, and even if there are no criminal charges filed against you, you have to make complaints with the Internal Affairs Division.
Yep.
Because if you don't do that, when it happens to the next person, there's no record that it happened to you.
That's
and
right.
we have no way of knowing that you're a potential witness to this officer's misconduct.
That's right. And I always say, you can get online and get a complaint form from Sacramento Police Department, Sacramento Sheriff, CHP. Get a complaint form, fill it out completely.
Sacramento Internal Affairs Office.
And they got the OPD
division,
Office of Police Accountability or something now. See,
you can contact that office as well, but that office, my understanding, has no real power.
No, not at all. But I'm just saying this, and here's my point of this. Get the application, fill it out, because you also send it to NAACP. You see, you make a copy and give it to them,
so that they can also keep
a record. I am so for
complaints.
If you haven't started this in your community, be the one in your community that says, hey, anybody got complaints about officers? I'll collect them. When you send them in, I'll keep a copy of them, so that we have something to go to in case they lose it.
Or because with the ones that are maintained by Internal Affairs, they simply fall off after 5 years.
Or we can't get them because they become part of a personnel thing, and we got to jump through the hoops of a lawsuit to get them.
Well, after 5 years, I don't know that we can get them even in that instance. But I believe they may actually destroy the complaints after 5 years. Now, the funny thing about that is, if you are accused of a crime, and you're arrested for a crime, and you're found to be guilty of the crime, that is going to follow you on your rap sheet for the rest of your life.
Not just 5 years.
Not just
you might be on probation for 5 years.
Yeah, you may be on probation.
Pick up a couple other things for 5 years.
But yeah, it's not going to disappear after 5 years. It's not going to disappear ever. At any point in time, when someone runs your rap sheet, which is a record of all of your arrests, detentions, you don't even have to be convicted. If you've been arrested, they will show up on that rap sheet.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And they do not disappear. They do not drop off after any amount of time. Even if you were to get a pardon, it would just reflect that you had successfully had been granted a pardon, but it does not erase the fact of the conviction.
Right.
The only way no convictions are erased. The only way an arrest or a detention is taken off your record is if the court gives you a finding of factual innocence. And those are unfortunately few and far between.
Now, I will tell you what law enforcement has been doing. They've been, when I believe they were wrong, they turn something into a detention only. They'll put something in that report later, a supplemental thing saying, oh, this was just a detention, not probable cause to arrest.
But it's still
still the detention is recorded on a rap sheet. That's why when the cops pull you over, they can come back and go, so I see you sell drugs back in 10 years ago. I see you fight with officers and stuff.
Those things might not even be true.
Right.
There could be things where you were mistakenly arrested because they are contacted, not arrested, but contacted or detained or arrested mistakenly, and it was dismissed.
Right.
Or no charges were ever filed.
Right.
But those contacts are still showing up on that rap sheet, and they're impacting that officer's mind when he runs that record check and he sees that information.
Right. Before they come to you, they know that. Before they even reach the window. And I'm not gonna.
Well, they do if you're in a vehicle that is registered
to you, because they'll see
because they can run the license plate on that vehicle. It pulls up the Department of Motor Vehicles registered owner.
That's right.
And so if you're that person, then they can run your record before they've ever even asked you for your driver's license.
And they do that. they actually do that. They can follow you for a minute while the partner is running that license in the system to see whether, hey, this might be a good mark.
Now, someone said to me that, well, you know what, going back to the situation with the Sacramento Police Department officer, well, you know what, the officer actually did when they searched the guy's car who had parked.
What did they find?
He actually did have a gun in his car. So they were justified. That's not the law.
Ends justifying the means.
You cannot use what you found from an illegal search, an illegal detention, to justify the detention.
What in the law indicates that, Carm? What do we call that when they find something that is no good?
Oh, fruit of the poisonous tree?
Yes. Yes.
The tree being very poisonous in that their activities were illegal to begin with in detaining, stopping, or contacting you.
So if you knew that a tree was poisonous, why would the fruit be any good? And that's the problem. So now, let's dwell a little bit more on the Sacramento case, because what happened here was kind of lucky. I mean, luck in that the officer who wanted to create the probable cause called her fiance to ask about, well, what am I going to use? Right? What am I going to use? And it was the fiance's partner, who they were at the station, who overheard them trying to discuss what probable cause would be, that actually spoke up and said, I don't think that's right, you guys.
Actually, just to be factually correct, she, I believe, called her fiance, was unable to reach him. She called the fiance's partner.
Oh, right.
And
that's
then
right.
had a discussion with the fiance and the partner, who were also both SPD officers, about what the probable cause should be.
Right.
What?
So thank goodness this other officer, Lundgren, had a conscience about it. He thought it was wrong for them to be discussing what the probable cause would be. He thought it was wrong.
You think it was his conscience that led him to do that?
You know what? I don't care what it was.
You don't think that there are officers over there every single day who engage in this same practice, making up a traffic stop because it's your word versus the officer's word, whether or not you use your signal if there's no footage. It's your word versus the officer's word, whether or not you went over the limit line. It's your word versus the officer's word, whether you failed to yield.
Here's the thing. We learned from that case that there's a room that you can go to write your reports. And in that room is where a bunch of officers may be writing their reports. So that means that I'm sitting over here trying to justify this stop. And I go, hey, Bill, hey, come here, look at this. Hey, what do you think? You think I ought to use this? Think I ought to use this? All right, cool. And everybody's in the room writing the report. So I guess, it could be for open discussion as to what the probable cause was on any one report. But what we know here is that even in that room, as things were discussed, AIA went to the officer's home and got their personal computers, the disk drive, thumb drive. And what they found were those reports, 7 different versions, was it, Carm?
I think it was
6 or 7 different versions of the report, indicating that, well, wait a minute, if this one officer does that, well, how many could easily do that? Is that what they do? Do they take this home and then, work it out before finishing the report? Because truth be told, when you look at the bottom of your police report, it will tell you when the officer wrote that report and when it was signed off by the sergeant. And it is never usually that day, that moment. It's at the end of the shift, maybe into the next shift that they come on, that they complete that report. So there's plenty of time to come up with probable cause, or not probable cause, but reasonable suspicion why I stopped you, whether I found the gun or not. So I'll tell you this. They arrested her and they charged her with 2 felonies. Okay.
What's going to happen now, though?
Well, now she'll be a defendant. And if she was smart,
she is a defendant.
You know who she should call. Now she needs our services.
She doesn't need my services.
She needs our services because now she's a defendant, just like the individuals that she probably has arrested many, many times.
Well, I will say this.
Turnabout.
As private attorneys, we don't have to accept every case that comes into our door. And I don't know personally that I would be able to represent someone whom I know is purposely lying and getting young African American men arrested,
hurt,
maybe even killed.
Right.
And do we think that this is the first time that she has done this?
It's never happened before. Oh my goodness. No, not at all. But if she gave me $2 million,
don't sell your soul for money, lawman. Don't
know.
Sell your soul for money. I
haven't yet. I ain't gonna do it now.
All right. All right then.
But it is just funny how, you know, your status is one thing one day, and then it can completely flip around for you the next day. So, and this was a huge investigation. I mean, IA, how many officers? 15, 20 officers.
She is not getting the experience that other defendants get. And that is, she did not lose her job. When they arrest my client or your client, a lot of times they're held in custody. And as a result of that, they can't go to work. Their job's not going to hold their position for them. And they lose their job. They're usually not someone with a huge amount of savings. Right now, she's a defendant, but she is on paid leave. She is getting paid while she is pending these charges.
Now, that is a function a lot of the police union and negotiation and labor law, you know, that allows them to do that kind of thing. It's perjury charges, which are not serious or violent felonies. They're crimes against the state, so to speak, or the public. And really the justice system is what we call them. Crimes against the justice system. Lying under perjury or under the penalty of perjury. Meaning you swore to tell the truth, but yet you didn't. So justice, in whatever way it's going to be meted, will be meted somehow. But we just, you know, we're not in control of that. Of course not. But what this does is allow us now to cross-examine officers a little differently about how they wrote their report. Who did they consult with before finishing their report? Did they go into the big room and consult with anyone? Did they take this home with them before they finish their report? Because now it gives an implication that if they did some of these things, they were acting just like this officer was. And maybe from the darkness comes the light. Now, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I'm going to let you in on something, a big secret. Happens all over the place. This is not just the one jurisdiction.
Who is that a secret to? That's not a secret to African American people.
Hey,
who is that a secret to?
The world may be listening.
We hope that the world is listening.
That's right.
That the public
is listening. Because now that amplifies even more why you don't have to give away yourself to the officer. Why you must exercise your 4th and 5th Amendment rights. They're yours. Let's see, who else exercises their rights? Was Colin Kaepernick exercising his right to protest? I mean, what was he doing there? You know, was he protesting something that was just willy-nilly? Or, wow, did it turn out that, geez, that blew up quickly? And now people who vilified him would now be all right. All right, I guess he was just peacefully protesting. So
I don't know that the people who vilified him have ever actually said that.
Well, I will argue NFL, the NFL commissioner.
Oh,
I mean, some of the owners and things like that,
which they knew all along.
Of course. Military personnel who really knew all along, wait a minute, I think I'm dying and fighting for this guy to do that. They knew all along. It was just politicians who want to spin it to make it look so un-American,
the same
right?
People who claim that they love the Constitution so much, except for when the Constitution is protecting someone who's protesting something that
they did or
that they're upset about.
Oh, yeah.
Then I guess the Constitution doesn't matter.
Right.
Either you love and believe in that Constitution as a United States citizen, or you don't.
Right.
Stop trying to have it both ways.
That's right. Choose sides or run for your life. Tonight, the fighting begins.
There shouldn't be any sides if we're all American citizens. We
That's
are
right.
in this. We are in this together.
13th.
And we need to realize that.
14th.
Those same rights that protect any American
15th.
Protect us all,
right.
regardless of melanin.
That's right. And we always got to keep that paramount in our minds. We really do. And if it means educating yourself on something that we've talked about, if it means going and Googling Florida v. Royer, Royer, 1983 is all you got to put in. And you will see the case where the Supreme Court states what citizens can and cannot do. And you'll be surprised at first. And you might not believe it at first. But it's there. All right, Carm. Let's see. What else about falsifying reports and faking tickets and things? I saw an article recently about an officer with fake tickets and things like that. Right? Writing fake tickets. People weren't even pulled over, but he had the information and write tickets and stuff for him.
Where did this occur? Do you remember?
It wasn't California though. Maybe South Carolina, North Carolina, something like that.
And so that kind of behavior, the kind of behavior that we have been discussing in a number of our episodes is very, very concerning. Yeah. And the fact that there is such a strong police union that protects them when they do this kind of misconduct. Right. Is there anyone else out there who has a job that would allow you to engage in such misconduct and you would still be allowed to keep that job?
Like, would the banks say, hey, teller, you're stealing money. Why don't you just go on home? We're going to pay you a couple of weeks. Think about what you did.
And then come back and we'll try again.
We'll train you better.
I don't even know if there's retraining that occurs when officers commit this misconduct.
Oh, there might be a little bit of training, and the class might go like this. Stop lying. There you go. There's your training.
Or, no, I think the trying would more be like, stop lying in situations where you know they're going to be able to prove that you're lying. You knew you were around a place that had multiple businesses that likely had cameras. So why would you lie in that instance? Why didn't you just wait until he got around the corner to a place where it was dark, where there were no business and there were no cameras, and you could have stopped this young man and did as you please?
You know what that is? Bold. I mean, that's some balls that is huge to feel, just like the woman that we were just talking about. Cameras are on.
Miss Brooks.
Yeah. And we're going to do what we want to do, pull you out.
Because they feel.
We want to.
They feel that they can. What they see is they don't see themselves getting punished.
That's right.
And as we've talked about, the Derek Chauvin verdict is rare. And we have yet to see what is actually going to happen to him as a result of that verdict. I think we can remember the female officer who went into a man's house who was resting in his own home and killed him. And what did she get? She took a human life. His family will never see him again. She got 10 years.
At no fault of
and
his.
A hug and a Bible.
Right.
Now, what do they sentence your clients to here in California if they're convicted of a murder?
Whew, let's see. You're probably
Of somebody who's in their own home, they go in that home and kill that person.
How about
are they ever going to see the
40
light
to life?
of such? Are they ever going to see the outside again?
40 to life. Second degree murder plus using a gun. 40 to life. So I wonder how to turn this tide. You know, a lot of times, it's going to be, we got to revamp policing. We got to do it a different way and stuff. And that's part of it.
Oh, we have a comment here from Mr. Mack indicating that there was a Virginia officer, Jonathan Freetag, whose traffic stop, I guess later found unlawful, caused Elon Wilson, a DC firefighter, to be locked up for 2
That's true.
years.
Right. I know. I saw that. The guy was a firefighter. Yeah. So it should not be taken lightly. The behaviors that we're talking about.
We can't. There needs to be a change in how policing is conducted.
That's right. A philosophy change, a complete philosophy change. Because I want to know this. I would love to teach this class. Why are you so harsh on Black people? Why? And I want to ask that question till an answer. Why? Why do you approach me with anger? Why? Because I did something to you? Probably not. Because I got a nice car maybe or something? I don't know. And I don't.
Well, law enforcement have one of the jobs where they should not be able to, but they can take their anger and frustration out from their daily lives and take it out on another citizen. And that should not be allowable. Well, Lawman, we are coming up on the end of this episode. Do you have a tidbit of knowledge that you want to impart to the public, to the people, to the viewers?
Yes, I do. First of all, in conjunction with the subject matter tonight, and when you ask why, there were officers in a jurisdiction who openly talked about they could not wait to take us out. They could not wait for the race war to start.
And those officers are officers out there stopping motorists.
They were senior officers,
who are
leaders in the law enforcement area. But here's my thing for tonight. Tonight's Carmen's birthday. What? So I got to do this, man. I got to do this. I got to honor this stuff, you know? So it's her birthday. She's only like 21. So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, my queen.
Thank you.
My pleasure to be sitting here with Carmen B. You know, we and her go way back, you guys. I mean, way back. There was a time when I thought I lived with her, worked with her, went to school with her. Every time I turn around, there's Carmen. And people would look at us like, how come y'all together all the time?
Your husband.
Yeah.
They would say your husband. I was
like, But I want to acknowledge and really celebrate the fact that it's her birthday and that we should be always thrilled and happy that another year has passed by in our lives and be thankful for it.
To be still here.
To be still here. Because as long as our hearts are ticking, it's a good day. Let's just say. Because we're going to go home. She's going to eat a cupcake or two, I hope. Drink a bottle of wine. I don't know what she does. But we're going to have some fun. We thank you guys for being with us today. I know I'm a little fired up today. I don't know why. It just happens. But I got to get fired up sometimes because I'm serious about what we talk about. You know, we don't do this for fun. You know, this isn't our joyful hour and stuff like that we spend with you. We really hope to educate.
And we hope this information is getting through to people and even to those people who are not able to watch us on the live show.
That's right.
But who can watch the show at a later time.
Inspire. We hope to inspire people
Yes.
to go do something. When I say collect things in the name, hey, you know what? That's a damn good idea. Hey, everybody, when you make complaints about law enforcement, bring them to someone.
Yeah. Don't just complain
Right.
amongst yourselves.
Let's act on it. Because are we going to be the change that we want to see?
That's what we have to do.
That's right.
All right, viewers, thank you so much for spending another Friday evening with Courtside with Lawman
and Carmen B,
all
birthday
right.
girl tonight.
Thank you.
Au revoir.